welcome to this video lesson. This is a very important video lesson for your listening and speaking skills. Today we are talking about hedging. Hedging is when you express your opinion, but you do not commit strongly to one side or another. All right, so the guy that you're going to watch and listen to in today's video, he does this amazingly well. All right, he's very well spoken, and he does a very good job of avoiding committing to an opinion on one side or another. So when is this useful? Perhaps you're in a situation and you don't know the other people that you're talking to, and you don't want to offend them by committing to a strong opinion, okay? So you can use these phrases. Or maybe you don't have a strong opinion. That is also okay. You can still use these phrases. Another way that knowing these phrases will help you to participate in conversations in a meaningful way with native speakers is if you're asking questions and the other person is using these phrases to hedge, to stop themselves from committing to a strong opinion, that means that person perhaps is uncomfortable talking about this issue and you should move on. So being able to recognize what the other person is feeling, thinking, wanting to talk about, that is also necessary to fully participate well in conversations with native speakers. Okay, awesome. So now we know why this lesson is important. Let's get to the activity. First of all, guys, listen and write down these phrases. All right? Stop the video, get a pen and paper, write down these phrases. All right, number one. And that's where that comes to a gray area. And that's where that comes to a gray area. Okay? That's the first phrase. Next phrase. I'm not smart enough and I'm not articulate enough to know. Good vocab word, articulate. I'm not smart enough and I'm not articulate enough to know. All right? Third phrase. So yeah, something like that. Very easy phrase to remember. So yeah, something like that. Okay? Next. If you want to be right down to a solid answer, I think blah, blah, blah. If you want to be right down to a solid answer, I think blah, blah, blah. Okay, next. Man, that's a complicated question, especially of late. Okay, man, that's a complicated question, especially of late. All right, next. As far as accidents, I've never been around that. I've never seen that happen, at least not personally. That's a long phrase. Feel free to stop the video at any time to write down these phrases. Again, as far as accidents, I've never been around that. I've never seen that happen, at least not personally. Okay, that's a good one. I like that one. Just to say, you know what? I have no experience in this. Sorry. Okay. Next. This is the last one, guys. I'm not on the end of the spectrum where I say blah, blah, blah. I'm not on the other end of the spectrum that says blah, blah, blah. I'm sort of in the middle somewhere. Okay, and this, again, long phrase, guys, very, very useful. One more time. I'm not on the end of the spectrum where I say blah, blah, blah. And I'm not on the other end of the spectrum that says blah, blah, blah. I'm sort of in the middle somewhere. Okay, so you have these phrases in front of you. All right, and guys, they all mean the same thing. These are just wordy, articulate, expressive ways of saying, I'm not committing to an opinion right now, okay? But I will tell you something about what I think. So, your task, watch this video and number the phrases in the order you hear them. So, for example, the first phrase you hear, write number 1. Right? That's self-explanatory. The next phrase you hear, write number 2. There you go. So write down the numbers, okay, in the order in which you hear the phrases given. Okay? So what I recommend doing, guys, is watch this video interview once all the way, Don't worry about anything. Just listen. Just listen to what he is saying. Just try to get the gist, okay? Just listen and try to understand what you can. And then watch it again, and that's when you number these phrases I gave you, okay? So do this activity, watch the video, and then I will be back to give you the answers.
How are you? It's good. It's going good.
What's your name?
My name's Coleman Scroggins.
Awesome.
I never lived here. Yeah.
Nice to meet you. My name is Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Where are you from, Coleman?
I'm from San Diego, California.
You're from San Diego?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're not from Texas?
Not originally. I've lived in Texas most of my life, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Something like that.
So you guys are selling what kind of weapons here?
A collection of handguns, rifles, a couple of shotguns.
Okay. And so what's your position on gun ownership then?
Man, that's a complicated question.
I know.
Especially of late. I think everybody should have the right to own a gun. Maybe not everybody, of course. But when you right down to the solid answer, I think absolutely we need more gun control. We really do. Now, how that comes, that's where it gets a little unclear. But I'm not on the end of the spectrum where I say everybody should have any weapon they want, and I'm not on the other end of the spectrum that says we should take guns away from everybody.
Yeah.
It's sort of in the middle somewhere. Absolutely more gun control. As far as how that manifests itself, it's kind of a little
good question. Because with the NRA over here, we're talking about mental illness, and because what they had said was education is the key. But I feel that with people who are mentally ill or who have been bullied or on the fringes of society, education and gun safety is irrelevant.
A lot of the times it is, and that's where it comes to that gray area. How do you regulate that? How do you decide? How do you trust people to decide for you?
Right.
So but I don't know. It's one of those things we as a country are going to have to come to pretty soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Have you ever had a friend, an accident in your world? You've been around guns growing up, or?
Yes. Not as heavily as I am now, but.
So you spent some time in San Diego, you said?
Yes.
And was that your teen years or your?
Most of my childhood years, and then a little bit in high school, going back and forth visiting my different parents and everything like that.
Okay.
But,
and in California, what was the perspective on that?
Well, my father, he's actually in the Navy. He's military. He is pro-gun, but he's also very pro-responsibility.
Okay.
So he owned a few handguns himself and a shotgun. Yes, he knew how to use them, and he preached safety every day. He locked them and everything. And here in Texas, a few members of my family own guns. My brother, I think, owns the most guns. He's in the Marine Corps, so of course he's very pro-gun. So I had my experience with guns. As far as accidents, I've never been around that. I've never seen that happen, at least personally. I've heard stories from friends and everything.
Well, no, I said because when I was in Michigan, I was interviewing a girl who was in her 20s, and she talked about hunting in Michigan, and it was a similar perspective to Texas.
Yeah.
And she said, I think people should generally be able to have guns, but then when she turned the camera off, she said, and when I was 14, my best friend shot himself because he had a gun under his bed, and his dad was upset with him for smoking pot. And it's kind of this idea of the access is there. So when a 14-year-old's not thinking clearly, what do you think about that? Do you have any reaction to that, or is safety irrelevant at that point because the kid is filled with hormones and he's like, oh.
That's not something you can put on the kid.
Yeah.
It's not something you can blame. You can't be like, well, he was just depressed. It's his fault. It's not the gun's fault. It's not the gun's fault. No, I'm not smart enough and I'm not articulate enough to know a way that we can stop that from happening. I hope that somebody in this country does. And I hope when we have those conversations, somebody can come up with a solution to that. But that's not that kid's fault. At the same token, maybe it's not entirely the gun's fault or gun person.
Yeah.
So
it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was a good interview, you guys. It was a good interview, and that is how we really talk. The way this guy avoids committing is amazing. He has a talent for hedging. All right, let's get into the answer. So the first phrase you should have heard, number 1, so yeah, something like that. That's number 1. Okay? Number 2, man, that's a complicated question, especially of late. Now, why does he say that, especially of late? He says that because at the time this interview was filmed, there were a lot of gun shootings. There were a lot of mass shootings in America at that time. The nightclub in Florida, and then some of the police shootings that followed that. I encourage you guys to read some of those news stories because, I mean, it's horrendous, but these are things that people are talking about. All right, so get into our modern culture, get into our news, our current affairs. That's what we like talking about. Of course, we talk about fun stuff too, but this stuff is important. All right, so number 2, man, that's a complicated question, especially of late. Number 3 was, if you want to be right down to a solid answer, and honestly, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say if you want to be right down to, but I would say if you want a solid answer, blah, blah, blah. So I would correct that and I would use that instead. Number 4, he says, I'm not on the end of the spectrum where I say blah. That whole spectrum phrase, you guys, this is an excellent way to communicate the fact that you can see both sides. All right? I mean, in the gun issue, he does a good job of saying, I can see both sides. I do believe in gun rights, but at the same time, I also believe in gun control. All right? And it is complicated. Knowing what that means as far as our law decisions go, most people can't answer that. All right, number 5, the 5th one is, and that's where that comes to a gray area. Gray area is the same, like it's not black, it's not white, it's gray. It's not defined, we're not sure, I don't have the answer. Okay, number 6, as far as accidents, I've never been around that. Okay, so, and that is also a good way, guys, if you're in a conversation and you don't have experience with this topic. This is a great phrase, you guys, just to be like, honestly, I don't have personal experience in this. You have to communicate honestly and directly, okay? And this is a great example of that phrase. And number 7, I'm not smart enough and I'm not articulate enough to know. I disagree, he is quite articulate. So, guys, these are some great phrases to take away, and I encourage you to please practice them. Find a friend to talk to, or with your teacher in class, or by yourself in the mirror. But please, these are excellent phrases, and they will help you participate in conversations with native speakers. So thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the listening course.